What's up, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Scythe, and we are finally back again for more Warframe. I'm sorry it's been such a long time. If you guys haven't already checked out my community tab, I ended up mentioning, I think like a week or two ago, that I've kind of put everything on hiatus except for Trove and Spider-Man, because Spider-Man is just eating up a lot of my time. Whether you guys are interested in that series or not, I could care less, because I'm really enjoying the game and just kind of taking a break and having a single player game to end up focusing my time on. But it does eat a lot of my time because each of the episodes is roughly 40 minutes and up, and because of it, that's why I've been kind of taking a break from all of the other side games, you know, Warframe, MapleStory, Fortnite, and stuff like that. But I did want to have this video, even if it is a couple days late, talking about not only the new Deluxe Nezha Skin finally being out in the game, if you didn't already know, but the Nezha Rework, and more specifically, we're going to be talking about the rework to his abilities and junk like that. I'm no expert, so I'm not going to tell you how to mod the character by any means, but I do want to show you just the skin in general and kind of what I've got going for my different looks of him. So we got this one, which is kind of my fire look. I ended up kind of taking this these color palettes kind of from Max's Revenant. He ended up kind of having a very visually appealing fire guy, and I just really like the look of it. Not to mention, I just like the way that the orange fire looks with the storm color palette. It's pretty cool. We got a nice dragon face on the back of Nezha right here. But then I've got this one, which might be one of my favorite, because it's kind of like a dark, kind of like an undead or a spirit type of character or something. I don't know. It's just kind of darker palette. It has a little bit of orange and silver, and then the light blue fire and stuff. And I really like this one. I feel that it works very, very well with the skin. And then just kind of my default, you know, the purple, black, and white kind of, you know, green fire as well. Just my ScythePlays colors, I guess I should say. And, you know, you can kind of see I have different attachments to the character that I've just kind of messed around with just to kind of, I don't know, get a good look for him. But I really like these shoulder pads and these leg pieces and the thing that we got on the front a little bit better. Now, one thing that I find kind of weird is if we go to the appearance of our sword right here. Oh, it's working now. Before, for some reason, I copied my main colors and it didn't actually like copy over into it. But I don't know. So anyways, these are the mods that I've been rocking on this guy. Clearly, I need to forma him because I'm absolutely out of space. I can't get my power drift to end up being a little bit higher level. And this is also a damaged flow. So I do need to... I have a better flow, as you can see right here. But obviously, it takes up more space. So I just generally need to forma this guy when I end up finding the time. And I'm not saying that this is like the best build for him by any means. I'm sure there's quite a few things that I could change based on the fact that his abilities have changed quite a bit. But oh man, Nezha is so much better now. Like he's so much funner, and just like he's way better in the terms of how he actually controls and stuff like that. So let's see if we can hop into a world and kind of check this out. He's still got his great mobility, but more so they ended up changing it so that he's got a lot more, you know, towards his mobility. So I kind of got the dev changes right here, and I'll try to remember to put a link in the description of all of these changes. It's not necessarily the patch notes, it's just kind of a summary of the biggest changes that they ended up doing to Nezha. So I don't know if there's like a proper patch notes. I guess I could end up throwing that one in. Oh, hello, D. But Firewalker, your #1 ability, that's been the biggest change. So as you know, this character is all about movement. That's why I like him, because he's pretty much the fastest frame outside of frames that can end up using abilities to augment their speed. This guy's just got the most natural speed. So as you're sliding, you end up sliding around as if you're on roller skates, right? I love the fact that the fire is just always looking good on him. And so a lot of the problems ended up coming into play because the animation set for this character, almost all your animations ended up cutting off that momentum. So now here's our #1. Look at that. We can just continue moving from what we just ended up having. Also, the fire itself is actually based off of duration now. So we're not constantly draining our energy as we're using the firewalking trail. So instead, you can see in the bottom right very little numbers where we've just got a time limit on the ability, regardless of what our energy is. This, of course, is a big change for the character. Makes it so that we can end up actually using our abilities, you know, because otherwise we would set things on fire with our #1 and then that would be it. You wouldn't be able to do anything. And then they also ended up changing the chakra. So now it's like as it ends up tagging enemies, it puts kind of a bit of a thing on them where when they die, they'll actually drop health that everyone can benefit from, because it used to have a bit of an internal healing, I'm pretty sure, but now it just is that everyone can kind of benefit from it because it's just going to be dropping health and stuff. And from what I've heard, you can actually use it in combination with, I think, Necros to have tons and tons of drops. Also, if we hold the ability, it's a little bit difficult to see, but you can see right over there. You see our chakras kind of hanging out on that thing. Oh, that's not our chakra at all. I don't... oh, that's the debuff of the chakra. The debuff of the chakra. Okay. So anyways, if we end up holding our ability, what it does is changes the chakra. So instead of it's bouncing around, you know, various enemies around in the environment, now we can just throw it outright. And it's just going to end up phasing through and just hitting all of the enemies and stuff like that. They also ended up changing the teleport a little bit, so it's just a little bit more intuitive, just a little bit better. And then your number 3, which is just going to be your what is this thing actually called? What do they mention it as right here? I don't know any of the names of these abilities, dude. Jeez. But yeah, the disc, when you throw the chakra, is going to end up actually being able to tag a lot more enemies as well. So this, yeah, warding halo. So they changed it so that it blocks 90% damage now instead of just 100%. And you can see in the bottom right that it also has a number. So it actually blocks a certain amount of damage rather than being... or well, I guess it always kind of blocked a certain amount of damage. Just now it actually shows us how did he do that. Was that his ultimate ability? I think so. So they, you know, they've done quite a bit towards the ability. The damage absorption vulnerability phase now begins as soon as you end up casting the ability. So what that means is as soon as we start using the ability, we're invulnerable during the cast animation, because one of the biggest problems was that while you were casting, you could end up getting killed. And again, you know, that just goes to show with the cast times of the character why it was such a problem, because there were so many times where this speedy glass character would end up just getting tagged by enemies and there's nothing you could do about it. You would just get absolutely destroyed right away just because you would end up getting attacked right away, right? While you're in the middle of your animations and you can't dodge or anything. So they also changed it so that I think it reflects damage while you're actually casting it or something like that. Damage multiplier during invulnerability is also increased. And then also, if we're standing right beside enemies, we're going to end up actually setting them on fire. Again, I'll put, you know, a link in the description to all this stuff so you guys can know the actual abilities a lot better than me, because you guys know how to actually mod your characters, whereas I just look up tutorials and junk like that. So the Divine Spears finally, last but not least, which is our ultimate ability, which I never ended up using, like ever, but I'll probably end up using it a lot more now. They sped up the cast time of the ability as well as the slam down animation. So the way that works is if we end up casting our number 4, oh, I think all the enemies are dead already, we would end up having spears of energy come out of the ground that essentially end up having all the enemies stick around, right? And if we ended up casting our ult again, we actually have them slam to the ground. So here's a spear of the enemy, and normally you would actually just wait, and then eventually the second phase of the ult would end up casting, but now it's manual, so we can do that as a kind of double way to slam down on an enemy. Kind of cool that we have the option. The ability is still going to end up being kind of on like a, you know, on a timer. So it's like we'll cast our number 4, and then after a while they will just end up slamming down regardless of whether we actually use it. But we can use the ability a lot more often. Most of all, it's that we can kill these guys while they're actually stabbed by the spear. So it's kind of a very good crowd control ability now. Not that it wasn't already, but Nezha just generally has a lot more use towards group dynamic play. So a lot of his abilities will actually complement other characters rather than just himself. And then, you know, there's quite a few other really cool, impressive changes with the character as well. They also ended up remastering all of his sound effects. So it's a lot more easier to kind of tell, like, what, you know, the timer is on your abilities, when you need to recast them and junk like that. And generally, he's just become, like, a lot more useful and a lot less broken. Because one thing I would argue about Nezha is I've always loved the character, but I would say that he always kind of felt like a bit of a mess. You know, like, now at least it feels like he's done. It feels like he actually belongs in the game and is as good as a lot of the other frames, you know what I mean? So I think it's really cool anyways. Woo! That was a little bit of a bad mix-up jump there, but anyways, I'm going to be using him a lot more. I don't know whether or not I'm inherently or necessarily going to end up going back to maining him, but I do think that the skin is beautiful. The abilities of the character are beautiful. We still don't get knocked down while we have our chakra going on, so consider, or not our chakra, our blazing whatever, the shield that we have protecting us, right? So you do gotta consider that you might not necessarily need any knockdown resistance, just because while we actually have that equipped, it's beautiful. But some people have criticized it. Like, I know Stratos ended up using the character for a very specific function, and so he doesn't really like the changes, but I personally find that these changes are really, really good. Like I said, I feel that it ends up making the frame feel a lot more complete and like it actually belongs in the game. And it feels like I can actually play him now and do a decent job of it. You know, like we can still end up, you know, throwing down our fire trail all over the place and just absolutely decimating a whole crowd of enemies and junk like that, while also having a little bit more functionality now where we can, you know, use our chakra by holding our number 2 to blast through enemies, teleporting around, and just generally, oh, when we teleport, we leave the beautiful fire explosion. That's what that is. Either way, very, very cool changes. Really, really like it. So I'm really happy about it. As far as updates towards the game, the devs ended up having a recent stream. We can confirm that Chroma Prime is going to end up being the next character. I've never cared for Chroma. I always thought that he was a little bit too swole for me. He looked kind of dopey. But Chroma Prime looks sick, dude. So I'm going to definitely either have to grind it or just buy it or whatever. I don't know. But either way, Chroma looks beautiful. So I'm really, really excited about that. And they kind of showed off a little bit more towards the Fortuna update. So I'm still hoping, like, it still seems like it's right around the corner. But at the same time, it's like we still don't have, like, a proper release date or anything like that. So I don't know. But a couple cool things that are going to be happening is we're going to be getting basically a graphics overhaul to a lot of the environment. Not necessarily to the plains of Eidolon here or anything, but most of all, like the bases and stuff like that of the enemy ships and everything. That's going to get a huge overhaul in preparation for Fortuna, because one of the things that's so cool about the Fortuna map over this map is not only that the visual fidelity of it is just through the roof. Like, it looks so beautiful, dude. Like, you should check out the dev streams if you haven't already, because, man alive, the game looks completely new. But the thing that I love about the Fortuna map is not only is it a lot bigger, but it has a lot more incentive for exploration. Because, let's just say, like, you would go down to that little base right there. In Fortuna, you can actually go inside the base, and it's like a whole level unto itself, where you can end up exploring it. It's got a lot of lore told through the environment. So, like, you know, science labs or experimentation labs and stuff like that, which I've always been very fascinated with in video games. You know, like with the Alien movies, for example, one of my favorite parts of the Alien movies and even the games related to aliens, or even the Metroid games and stuff like that, one of my favorite parts of all of those sequences was whenever you're sitting in the calm moment, you know, looking at lab experiments and stuff like that, and kind of, you know, there's a lot of mystery going on and you don't really know what's happening before, of course, everything ends up going, you know, getting like really, really bad and really, really worse for a lot of people. So I think it's really cool that there's going to be a lot of lore storytelling within the environment of the Fortuna update. And I'm just generally very, very excited about it. So anyways, I wanted this to just be a kind of shorter video, just to kind of not only introduce the changes to Nezha, but talk about, you know, the skin and everything like that. And most of all, just mention the fact that, you know, all the Fortuna stuff that's coming about, and I'm just really excited about it. I haven't really had that much time to end up like playing or grinding Warframe or anything like that, so, you know, again, I can't say for certain when the series is gonna end up coming back, but I think it's a good way to gauge it is that when I'm done with the Spider-Man series, that's probably gonna be a good way to determine that I'm gonna have a lot more free time on my hands once again to be able to actually record not only Warframe but all these other games. And then I'll do my best to have Warframe as like a you know, a couple episodes a week, if not more. But anyways, thanks for watching. Very much appreciate everybody. Don't forget to like, sub, and hit that notification bell. And if you want to support me, you can always sponsor the YouTube channel with that join button down below, or just check out the merch store. We got the Ohio merch shirt. That's the most recent one that we got added. I'm trying to work on some other meme-worthy shirts. And then otherwise, if you don't have any money, you can always check out the link down below for Gawkbox, which is a way that you can donate to me for free by basically downloading phone games, playing them for a few minutes, and then you end up getting free money. It's really, really awesome system. It only takes minutes of your time, like literally. And also they've been expanding, and it might work for more people in Europe now, because it didn't before. So I would recommend that you check it out. Just make sure whether or not your region is actually supported by just going and trying it out. Thanks for watching regardless. Sayonara and stay up, everybody.